What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another video on my third channel. I had this video, I filmed it like a week ago, and it was one of those really awkward moments when I actually had been talking to the camera for about 27 minutes and I realized that my microphone was never on.
You suck!
So to any of you aspiring YouTubers out there, make sure that your microphone is always on whenever you're recording a video. But I mentioned to you guys in my last video that I was going to be doing a little Q&A for my next video, and this is going to be one of the few times where I'm going to be doing a Q&A on this channel. I think YouTubers doing Q&As in general, it's just a very common thing, and the questions you guys asked on that video were questions I felt were actually pretty good, and some of them weren't actual questions, and there were more of just really great, insightful comments. So I was going to read a few of those and also just get to a few questions that I thought were fairly commonly asked questions that I think that more people want to know. So I'll be addressing those here. If you guys want to ask me a question, you can feel free to drop a comment down below. And I'm just really excited, just before I dive into all of those, about the future of this channel, because I have revived this channel, and I'm gonna start posting more content on this channel on a more frequent basis. More frequent basis meaning more frequent than once a year. So I hope you guys are excited too, and if you guys have any suggestions as to what you want me to cover on this channel. I want to take this channel more into the direction of fitness, and I went down the mental health, eating disorder recovery route. I did that for a long time, and I think people really understand where I'm coming from with a lot of that, and a lot of the topics that I discussed with all of that were great, and they're out there, and my thoughts on a lot of those things are pretty much still the same. So I don't really feel like I need to take my channel in that type of direction. Granted, I will be talking about a few of those things in this video, but yeah, so I feel like this is going to be more of a fitness, cycling, nutrition, health orientated channel, but it will probably be a lot of other things too. I have the video after this one, I'll probably be doing a beginner's guide to road cycling, how to buy your first road bike. I know that's probably actually the second most commonly asked thing for me, is what kind of bike should I buy? How can I get into road cycling? And then I want to cover that too. So that'll probably be the video after this one. But anyways, everybody, let's get to a few of those questions. Whenever I do any sort of Q&A, there's usually like an overarching theme to every single Q&A, and it usually revolves around my food challenges. It revolves around my diet. It revolves around how many calories do I eat every day? How many carbs do I eat every day? How many calories do I burn every day? Like all this, it pretty much just is all the same. And so I tried to pick a lot of questions that some of them will be pertaining to food challenges, but like I said earlier, all of these things I've talked about so many times already. And it just gets really boring and monotonous to answer the same question over and over again. I've realized that people ask, even people that already know this information ask the question because they think that it's changed, or they want a different answer. I don't know, but there's just usually an overarching theme to a lot of these questions, and I just wanted to kind of clear the air on that. So I would love to know more about how you view food challenges with respect to your day-to-day. Do the challenges keep you fueled and energized throughout the week? So this is definitely a question I've answered before, but I'm gonna rehash this. I thought Steve had a great question. So when it comes down to the energy that I get from my challenges, it really depends on the macronutrient and calorie breakdown from the challenge itself. For me, I've noticed a really crazy difference when I'm eating a challenge, or when I eat a ton of food that has a lot of carbohydrates in it versus a challenge that's mainly just sodium and fat. Challenges with higher amounts of sodium and fat in them generally tend to make me feel a lot more sluggish, and I feel just generally a lot more terrible after them. For me, that really kind of makes a lot of sense. Fat is the most calorie dense macronutrient, and it takes a lot more time to digest fat. And when you add sodium into the mix, which is something that when consumed in excess will make you bloated, and it will make you there's a lot of symptoms and consequences that happen when you overconsume sodium. And versus when you overconsume carbohydrates, your body has a storage mechanism for carbohydrates. Your body doesn't necessarily have a storage mechanism for protein, for example. For me, this took a lot of time for me to actually realize, because as somebody that went through an eating disorder and somebody that was petrified to eat carbohydrates for the longest time because of what society and what people just generally say about carbohydrates. You know, carbs are going to make you fat. You know, if you eat carbs past 9 p.m., you're going to get fat. All this other just garbage that still exists out there. We've kind of been perpetuating this thought that, you know, you have to be afraid of carbs because they're going to make you blow up if you eat them, and it's just not true. And so once I started actually doing more personal experiments with my carbohydrate intake, and I started realizing that like my body's just really efficient at storing and utilizing carbohydrates, I've really learned that they're more beneficial for me. And I can, I guess relating this back to like the food challenge aspect, like my body's really efficient at utilizing carbohydrates for energy just because I'm active and I'm burning off not necessarily the calories, but my body's just generally better at utilizing glycogen because of the activity that I do. So I've noticed a really big increase in energy following the days after a high carb challenge versus a high sodium, high fat challenge. Hopefully that answered your question. Basket locker ball, will you do a video about your experience with training fasted? So I've been training fasted since I was 16. There's a ton of information about fasted training and intermittent fasting and all that out there as well, but there is actually no like major clinical data that shows that training fasted is actually going to be superior to you in terms and from a fat loss perspective than training in a fed state. So there's going to be a lot of people out there that say, oh, if you train fasted every day in the morning, you're gonna burn more fat than you would if you woke up and had breakfast that day. It's just, it's not true. We don't have the data to show that that is actually true. Like, if you guys ever hear somebody make a claim like this, realize that if we did have something like that out there in the world of nutrition and just fitness in general, everybody would be doing it. Granted, training fasted for a lot of people is pretty hard, but from that belief, it's just not true. So I train fasted just because from a digestion standpoint, whenever I'm doing any sort of activity, I feel better without a ton of food in me, and that's just how I've always preferred it. I feel more, I should actually say, I feel like less bogged down when I'm in a fasted state. So apart from that, there's no real benefits to it. And plus, like, for me during the day, I'm just busy. As soon as I wake up, I work, and then I go straight into a workout. I lift after that, and then I'm back to work. So I don't really have the time to have a bunch of meals during the day. So so that's why I mainly have trained fasted for the longest time. So at the end of the day, do whatever you prefer and whatever you enjoy that gets you to your goals. That's really the main thing that matters. The next question is, what are your strength goals in powerlifting and how do you train to achieve them? So right now, as it is, my powerlifting meet got canceled, which is really not good. I kind of figured it was gonna happen. To be honest, everybody, this year has just been really crazy. I ran my first marathon, and I really wanted to do my first powerlifting meet within that same year. So the meet got postponed to December 1st, I think, sometime in December. It's actually in the middle of December. It got postponed to the middle of December. And so at this point, like, I was constantly just going, ever since like lockdown happened and the gyms got shut down and I did lose a fair amount of strength. I kind of just have been in this state of trying to like wake myself up to be like motivated to get back into the gym and just like really start getting under the bar, start powerlifting and just get super strong again. And I've been trying to do that. I haven't been able to really get to that state again and get to that point. And it's honestly, I'm just having fun right now. And my long-term goal, well, my goal this year is now to do an Ironman. So I'm no longer really focused a lot on powerlifting. And I generally think though that having resistance training at least, you know, 3 times a week, whether you're trying to train for an Ironman or whether you're trying to be the best rock climber in the world or whether you're trying to be the best competitive skier. I don't know what it is. It's power, or not necessarily powerlifting, but weight training and resistance training in general. Everybody should be doing it. So I try to get into the gym 3 times a week at minimum, and I try to just do full body movements for now. That's just the way I've been doing it, but I've just been having a ton of fun lately on the bike, and I'm just really stoked about that. So I wanted to highlight this comment. This is from VT Mongoose. VT, I think, has been following this channel for a while. I think the half Ironman would be a great short-term goal for you. I'm in the same boat. Other than it being a really awesome comment to read, I don't really get a lot of insight from a lot of athletes, generally because most of the people that follow me for food related stuff. So anytime I get any sort of insight on like my physical performance from like another athlete, I value all your comments, but for me, that's I don't know. I really appreciate it. So I just wanted to post this comment. So these are questions I wanted to bring up. Not necessarily questions, but these I've been getting a lot more of. So this year on my main channel, I've noticed a lot of, the way that I can say it is like this. I feel like I'm more transparent and open about my life than a lot of other people are. And that can be a good and it can be a very like not good thing for people depending on how you want to look at it. For me, I'm a guy that is open about the fact that he dealt with disorder for a long time, and the internet has seen me talk about that very openly. And you know, I look back on some old videos that I've done. You know, I can clearly see that, you know, my mindset and my mentality was at that point very, very poor, and I just didn't really know how to get out of that. And so posting these, by nature of your job and the videos you typically make, constant exercise is just a part of your life. It sounds like you used to be a slave to it. And goes on to say, I'm not an endurance athlete, but I do imagine that it was probably difficult to do that much cardio. And the one below that was by Jack, who says, how did you move away from using biking to thrash yourself in order to do more and move towards where you were now, basically enjoying the aspect of pushing yourself and challenging yourself. And so reading these, I went back to a comment that I got, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, where I don't even think this guy was a subscriber, but he essentially, he brought up a video that I filmed in late 2016. I was basically sitting in my car, and it was before I went into work that day. And I remember bringing my camera in my car with me, and it was just like, man, I have to film this video because I just want people to validate my feelings and you know, just tell me that whatever I'm feeling and thinking and all that different stuff in that time was right. And you know, I just wanted the internet to like give me that validation. And that was something that I did a lot back then. It's not necessarily like a bad thing, because I feel like now more than ever, like a lot of people do that. I still do that sometimes. We need validation, external validation for whatever we're going through or whatever it is. But I did that in that video, and I just spent like 18 minutes in my car, 20 minutes just like talking about how depressed I was and how fatigued I was and how I was just bored of, you know, not bored, but I was just tired of waking up every day feeling so tired, and I was just tired of riding my bike so much. I was tired of, you know, having to go to the job that I worked on my feet all day. I was just tired of feeling tired. And so this person then went on to say that, you know, the life that I live right now is essentially the same, and that I'm using the exercise that I do every day as a way to mask my or my exercise or whatever it may be. And I think about why. Well, first I looked at the person's comment, and you know, for me, like I've gotten a similar type of comment before from other people, and so I go back to the fact that, like I said earlier, I'm very transparent about my life. I'm just very open about everything. And so I'm also very open about the fact that what my recovery, whatever that word is, whatever that looks like to you, to anybody else, is going to look entirely different to anyone. And so for me, I'm not going to sit here and try to define what that actually means. One thing that I've learned from all these years of doing YouTube is that essentially, you know, being transparent to the world about my life is I've realized that regardless of whatever I say or do, I'm never gonna have the approval from anyone. Well, I shouldn't say anyone, but everyone. I'm not gonna have the approval of everyone. And so ever since I started posting more videos with the words weight, diet, anything like that on my main channel, I started to see more comments like that in general. So when I started seeing a lot of these comments, I realized a lot of these comments come from people that are still really struggling with self-acceptance issues or eating disorders or exercise addictions themselves. They may think that just because they went through something that may look similar to me or what I went through, that I must be going through the same thing. For me to judge another person's mentality to fit whatever narrative that you seem to have, it's a very common thing on the internet, and that's what people, especially in this type of circumstance, like to do. At the end of the day, I could sit here and try to explain every reason why I'm not like that guy I was 4 years ago, or however long it was that I filmed that video, but I just don't feel like I need to anymore. It doesn't really matter to me because, and this goes for any other opinion online from people. Like I just, with comments, I've really, like, I'll read my comments occasionally, but I realized that for me, I go to sleep every night and I wake up and I go to sleep every day as me. And the only thing that really matters is my own opinion of myself and how I see myself and the impact that I'm making on the world. And if that's a positive one, and that's the way that I view things. So if somebody doesn't believe that I'm the picture perfect representation of what it looks like to recover from an disorder, like that's on them. At the end of the day, I've always held true to that belief that when you're being controlled by any sort of mental illness at all, instead of being in control of it, you're not happy, you're powerless, and you lose a strong sense of yourself. And I've never been more happy, and I've never felt more strong and powerful, and I've never felt more in tune with how I am than ever. And so I don't, once again, I don't feel like I need to make that justification to every single person that thinks self-destructive. He still has a huge, severe, he still lives with all these things, because I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't wake up every day with motivation and a purpose and all that stuff if I still felt that way. So if somebody wants to believe that, then they can believe it, and that's it. But to answer the actual question that you guys, that those two people asked more directly, essentially what you're thinking about is viewing exercise as something to look forward to and something that's gonna bring positivity to you rather than loathe it. And I think people, and I actually should probably just make a separate video on this entirely, because people still view exercise as something that they have to loathe, something that is like, oh, I gotta get on the treadmill today and run 5 miles after work, like, oh, it's gonna suck. So there's like still this mindset with people that, you know, they have to like just hate it. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is your mindset. And if you're purely trying to exercise to burn as many calories as possible, you're going to get yourself into a very poor mindset with food and exercise, and it's just gonna set you up for a world of disaster. So just don't do that. Melissa asks, will you be getting an Ironman coach or train via your own research? I, at this point, am going to need an Ironman coach. To be honest, I think I'd be fine on the run and the ride segment, but I tried swimming for the first time in 10 years. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and it went terribly. And so yeah, I'm definitely gonna need a coach for that. So Matt asked a lot of great questions. A lot of these questions like are great ones to ask. I'm just gonna answer his first one. Now that you're in a healthy place and have a new perspective, if you could go back, what would you tell yourself when you were at your worst with your eating? So I've realized that when looking back at my past demons and what I've struggled with, and during my hardest times, that I lost a lot of my own time struggling with something that a lot of people struggle with, like a lot of people, and that's irrational thinking and irrational beliefs. So if you think about it, mainly thrive on those things, irrational thoughts and irrational perceptions, when it comes down to ourselves and our bodies. And for me, I just use the classic example, like if you do something that's outside of your normal, in particular when people deal with eating disorders, you know, you think eating a particular thing or not tracking a particular thing or not is something that you would consider to be disordered. If you don't do that particular thing, that fear of the unknown is going to keep you, it's going to take you out of your safe zone. And eaters like to thrive on us being within a safe zone. They like to thrive within this very small bubble, and you have to stay within that bubble. And if you venture outside of that bubble, you're going to, whether it's gain weight or you're going to, something catastrophic is going to happen. It's all based on black and white thinking. And so for me, what really matters, what I would tell myself is to, back then I wasn't doing enough work within myself to venture outside of the black and white thinking. So I remember in 2017, went on my first actual food tour. So I had pretty much I was like, you know what, I'm over it. I hate feeling like crap. I wasn't really that underweight back then. At the beginning of the year, I think I was, but I remember just getting so fed up. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna live in my car for 2 weeks and I'm gonna go do food challenges. And I put myself into a very uncomfortable space because I wasn't doing any sort of additional exercise to mitigate the weight gain that I was gaining from doing a food challenge every other day. And so I put on a good 10 to 15 pounds over the course of a few weeks. Maybe it had been like a month, maybe a month and a half. But for me, after the first few days of doing what my mind had been telling me was gonna make me become obese again, I realized that like to go from like one point to another point, especially with weight, it's not rational to think that way. And it's not going to happen because I'm not going to let myself get to that point. But us trying to actually think that in the moment is what keeps us in our safe zones and it keeps us comfortable. But to get to a point where, to be able to get to a point where you're gonna feel strength and in control again, you actually have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And not enough people, I mean, we all do it. I still do it. I still do things that keep me in my comfort zone, but you have to be, it's gonna sound super counterintuitive and not like right, but to be comfortable, you have to get uncomfortable. So hopefully that answered your question. This is a great question. Have you been able to get your hormone levels in check? So if you guys go back on this channel, you can go check out all of my other videos that I filmed where I was just, oh my gosh, I don't even really know what to call it. It was pretty much just me. I don't know, to some degree, I feel like those feelings were valid because I just went through such a long time in my life. I feel like from 2016 to early 2018, I just felt so fatigued and I had no idea what was going on. It was everything. It was like, okay, it's my sleep, it's medication I'm taking, or it's my thyroid, or whatever it is. But in a nutshell, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism in 2017, and I got on a very low dosage of T3. And I had pretty poor numbers in terms of, I didn't have like Hashimoto's and I didn't have any sort of additional like super bad thyroid, but it was pretty underactive. And that generally tends to happen when you have a lot of endurance athletes and just people on calorie restricted diets, if they're on calorie restricted diets, whatever it is. And so in a nutshell, I was taking T3 for a while, and I took that up until the beginning of this year. January 1st of 2020, I had also been starting to take T4 as well. And I was just like, one day I'm just like, you know what? I want to see what it's going to be like if I just don't take this anymore. Because like for me, I think with particular medications, it's like, it's definitely needed. It's kind of an overstatement to say that about all medications, but it just really just depends. But I read a lot more about reverse T3, and I felt like I had gone from taking 5 micrograms up to 25, and at some days even, did I take 50? I think I was taking 50 at one point. And so I felt like it wasn't doing anything for me anymore, and I just went off of all of it. Stopped taking T3 and T4 all on January 1st of 2020, and I've never felt better. My thyroid is perfect right now, normal. Please understand that, especially with something like hypothyroidism, like a lot of people will be like, oh, maybe I should do the same thing too. I had the same guy asking me why I went off, but all he wanted to know was why Why did you, and like all of these thyroid questions. And guys, just know that I'm not a doctor. Like everything that you see on my social media, on my YouTube channel, like it's all me just explaining my experience. So that is what worked for me. Do not think that it's gonna work for you. All of this is just me explaining what has worked for me. So just wanted to clear that up. This is the last question. Essentially, what motivates me? Whenever somebody asks me about my motivation, I can't really come up with anything, because I don't even really like the word motivation. Everything is all about mindset. Everything is. Like, you can go out, like I read that David Goggins book a few weeks ago. And for me, I mean, that motivated me in that moment. And that made me go, wow, I need to harden up. I need to really like, I need to do this, I need to do that. But like, that moment in time is going to eventually fade. You're going to feel like, okay, what's the next thing that's going to get me motivated? Like, you can have 5,000 things that make you motivated, but at the end of the day, you need to have a mindset every single day to be better. Like, that needs to be, you know, at the forefront of your mind every single day. That's a belief of mine. I wake up every day with, at least in my mind, with one way I can challenge myself and how I can be better every single day. You know, you're gonna go through low points in life, and I certainly have had my fair share of low points, even this year. And so for me, I just realized that my mindset is everything. And to be able to you need to be able to have a positive, put yourself in a positive mindset to be able to become motivated and to become driven. If you're not in a positive mindset, those things just will not happen. You will not reach your goals. You will not accomplish what you want to accomplish, and you will not be able to do the things that you want to do, because your mindset, and I feel like I've already said this a ton in this video, but your mindset is literally everything. Everything, whether it's recovering from an or whether it's getting over depression, whether it's running a half marathon or a 5K, or riding your bicycle, or swimming, or landing a new job opportunity, or making your first $10,000, whatever, $50,000, whatever it is. Your mindset is literally everything in this life. And if you don't have a positive mindset, you are not going to be able to accomplish a single thing that you want to accomplish. I probably went on a long-winded tangent about that, but anyways, that was the last question, and hopefully I was able to address a lot of, you know, your guys' questions and comments and all that. Like I said earlier, if you guys have any thoughts or anything about this, hopefully this was insightful in some way, be sure to share them down below, and I will come back to you guys with another video. Without further ado, everybody, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.